Welcome to our channel. In this video we will review some facts about eels. But before we start, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for future updates. Anguilliformes, sometimes known as eels, are interesting organisms with lengthy bodies that resemble snakes. It has about 800 species, with some found in both freshwater and saltwater. People eat eels all across the world, and it's no surprise that they're popular. In some parts of Japan, for example, they are considered delicacy. Despite their widespread presence, there are still many unknowns regarding eels. In fact, we still don't know how eels breed. Yes, eel reproduction is pretty mysterious. Despite centuries of research and observation, this remains the case. What makes this possible? How can we not be aware of one of the world's most frequent types of fish's reproductive habits? This post will explain all of this and more. It's a mystery how eels reproduce in the wild. What makes eel reproduction so mysterious? For starters, scientists have never seen an eel reproduce in the wild. For centuries, their exact hatching locations remained a mystery. Many eel species' spawning habitats have only recently been discovered. Even yet, it remains unclear how they migrate between their spawning and dwelling sites. Even their exact reproduction procedures are mostly unclear, as we will learn later. While many elements of eel reproduction remain unknown, others have become clearer over time. What is an eel's life cycle? Before we go into eel reproduction, let's have a look at the eel's life cycle. Eels, like the majority of fish, begin their lives as eggs. These eggs hatch into leptocephali larvae, singular leptocephalus. These are tiny organisms, measuring less than 0.2 in 5 mm. They frequently migrate vertically. This implies they live at both the top and bottom of bodies of water. Eels can stay in this stage for anything from 6 months to 2 years. The baby eels are then transformed into glass eels. These are larger but still little transparent juveniles, thus the term glass eel. They travel from their hatching grounds to their normal dwelling areas. Such journeys can cover thousands of kilometers. They expand in size over time, eventually becoming elvers. At this time, the eels enter freshwater bodies of water. Eels eventually live out entire lives in these bodies before returning to their spawning regions. They spawn and perish there. How is eel reproduction enigmatic since its life cycle is known? For one thing, wild eel spawning has never been seen. For generations, even their specific spawning locations were unknown. Many eel species' spawning habitats have only recently been discovered. Even their specific reproduction procedures are unknown, as we will learn later. Eels reproduce where? As previously stated, eel spawning sites differ from their real-life grounds. This is notably true for freshwater animals, but it also applies to marine species. European and American eels breed in the Sargasso Sea in the Atlantic Ocean. It gets its name from the plentiful sargassum seaweed in the vicinity. The Sargasso Sea is unique among seas in that it has no geographical limits. Instead, it is defined by sea currents in the Atlantic Ocean. The Sargasso Sea is home to numerous marine species and is commercially and environmentally significant. It is a spawning area for eels as well as a home for crustaceans and other types of fish. How did people learn that this location was a breeding ground for eels? Years of missions and observations were required. Scientists scoured the oceans for eels in their juvenile stages. They saw that youngsters were getting smaller and smaller as they traveled through the waters. They eventually realized that juveniles in the Sargasso Sea were the tiniest they could locate. It's crucial to understand that eel migration is a two-way street. Eels' bodies adapt for the journey when they migrate from their breeding grounds to where they will dwell. When eels return to their breeding sites, they, too, transform. These modifications aren't too bothersome because the eels will also perish at the breeding grounds. As a result, there's no need to re-acclimate to living conditions because they'll never return. While European and American eels breed in the Sargasso Sea, other seas eels have their own breeding sites. Japanese eels, for example, breed near the Marianas Islands. Captive eels have been seen reproducing. One surprising fact is that scientists aren't sure how eels mate in the wild. There are several reasons for this, including a lack of observations of adult eel spawn. Despite numerous excursions, scientists have failed to find freshwater eel eggs and hatchlings in the oceans. Scientists, on the other hand, have watched eel reproduction in captivity and made educated assumptions. Eels, for example, are known to lay eggs. Eels are thought to reproduce by a process known as external fertilization. This means that females release eggs instead of using sexual organs to mate. Males then release sperm into the water, which mixes with the egg and fertilizes it. This is a frequent reproductive method used by fish. Other groups, such as salmon and clownfish, fertilize in this manner as well. Surprisingly, efforts to grow eels for commercial purposes have mainly failed. This has been attributed to a variety of elements, including biological systems and a complex life cycle. Eels survive migration in what ways? Eels, as previously stated, move thousands of miles to and from mating places. This may not be unusual for marine creatures such as sea eels. This migration, however, includes freshwater eels. Because freshwater and saltwater are obviously not the same, how do eels survive? Eels can make it through this journey because their bodies have adapted to it. Their kidneys, in particular, can handle a lot of salt. Other body components alter gradually as eels progress through their voyages. How do electric eels procreate? While we're here, it might be worth discussing how electric eels reproduce. In contrast to other eels, electric eel reproduction is not at all mysterious. Nonetheless, it is fascinating. South America is home to electric eels. They, like other fish, deposit eggs. Male electric eels utilize saliva to form a nest to safeguard their young. These nests can house up to 1,000 eggs, which hatch during the dry season. Why do we understand the reproduction of electric eels? You might be astonished to learn that electric eels are not actual eels. Electric eels, on the other hand, are members of the knifefish family. Electric eels, in fact, are more closely related to catfish than to real eels. Given that electric eels and catfish live in comparable surroundings, it's not all that surprising. Will the eel reproduction mysteries ever be solved? While there is still much to understand about eel reproduction, significant progress has been done in recent decades. Initially, scientists were unaware of the Sargasso Sea spawning. Expeditions and observations aided in determining the location of this and other oceanic spawning regions. Furthermore, scientists did not always grasp glass eels and leptocephali. Perhaps future trips, as well as advances in captive reproduction, will provide us with additional answers in the future. Perhaps one day the wonderful yet enigmatic realm of eel reproduction will be fully revealed. That may happen soon or in the far future, but it would still be a remarkable breakthrough. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to our channel, since we will be covering a lot of similar content in the future. Till next time, stay curious.